What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update, and quite a bit to get into today. You're obviously going to get your daily Porro and now your daily Zaniolo. But let's start off talking about Fabio Paratici, as a Matt Barlow journalist says that Paratici's future at Tottenham is under increasing scrutiny after allegations he offered to pay over the odds to sign Christian Romero from Atalanta to solve a problem for his former club Juventus. Paratici's 30-month ban by the Italian FA is expected to be extended to the UK, and Matt Law follows on from that and says Paratici's 30-month ban from football is expected to be extended to the whole of Europe. So it's looking like we could maybe have seen the last of Fabio Paratici, and it looks as though his ban is going to be extended to the UK, Sim.
Yeah, but obviously that's going to be subject to appeal, which Juventus are appealing. So I think while the appeals process is going ahead, it seems as though for the time being, well, Spurs haven't commented, but it seems as though he'll be performing his duties at Tottenham. When it comes to the Romero deal, the rumours around that, apparently Spurs, not publicly, but they were obviously asked to comment, and they vehemently deny that they overpaid for Romero in that deal, and they think they paid a fair price. And I think it was 42 million in the end. I mean, he was at the time very sought after. He was Serie A Defender of the Year. He was just breaking into the Argentina team. I don't know. I don't see 42 million pounds being that over market value at that point. Maybe I mean, you could argue he'd only had one or maybe a couple good years, and maybe that you could have waited a bit longer, but I don't see 42 million being a crazy price. I mean, how much would we have overpaid? 10 million more or something? I don't know. Doesn't seem crazy price. It doesn't seem a crazy price to me. So I don't know if I don't know if they have identified that as a deal because they have evidence, or they're just speculating. I'm not sure what the deal is with identifying that deal as a deal which is dodgy. But with all his dealings going on now, honestly, nothing will surprise me at this point.
Yeah, either way, it's not great news, is it? And obviously, still, with everything up in the air at Tottenham, we just don't need anything more. And this is just an extra layer of the uncertainty at Tottenham Hotspur, which is very, very frustrating. But let's move on. Let's talk about Nicolo Zaniolo. Once again, Fabrizio Romano says that Tottenham will continue talks over Zaniolo this week. And there was a quote from Jose Mourinho talking about Zaniolo. And he says, in my opinion, Zaniolo will be here on February the 1st. He wants to leave and I accept it, but it doesn't mean he will leave. I too would like to stay in London and have dinner with my family, but instead I'm here. Alfredo Padula says tomorrow there'll be a key meeting at Tottenham to discuss Zaniolo. Spurs want to close the deal regardless of the future of Antonio Conte. And he said that yesterday, so that meeting should have been taking place today. And DiMarzio is saying that Tottenham's offer for Zaniolo was a loan with an obligation linked to qualification for the Champions League, which would result in a purchase of 20 to 25 million euros. Roma are currently rejecting the proposal due to the uncertainty of the obligation. On those Jose Mourinho quotes, I mean, he's talking like a man that knows Daniel Levy.
Definitely. Oh, he's definitely aware of how Levy operates, but it definitely points in the direction at the moment of him leaving. The fact that Mourinho is openly admitting that he wants to leave is pretty significant. He was left out of the Roma squad yesterday in their win against Spezia. So clearly he's... and then also, what did the sporting director say yesterday? He said some people are putting individual causes in front of the collective, and he's clearly talking about Zaniolo. So they want rid of him. He's looking for a move. So it looks like, to me, it's a bit different to the Porro deal where they're desperate to keep him and then they're not willing to budge. I think Zaniolo, there could be some wiggle room come later in the window, because I don't think they probably want a player hanging around who doesn't want to be there. And his form apparently has been underwhelming as well. So if they can get rid of him, it sounds like they'll want to. So there's probably more confidence a deal here can get done, but depends on what kind of clauses Tottenham want to put in the contract, and if there's going to be an obligation and how much that's going to be. So Roma are apparently looking for a guaranteed 40 million euros, Spurs like 25, so a bit of a difference there, but I guess you could split the difference to like 30 or something, and that's probably where a deal could get done.
Yeah, and for those kind of prices between 20 and 30 million euros is is a really good price for Zaniolo, in my opinion, with the ability that he does have. Yeah, fine. It's not granted that he's going to take like a duck to water in the Premier League, and obviously you've got those injury problems hovering over him as well. But in terms of when you're looking at just the football player and just what abilities that he does have, I mean, that price is a good price, isn't it?
For quality wise, yes. It's just there's a lot of question marks, as you say, suitability to the Premier League. Although I do think he's a pretty strong guy, pretty strong player. So I think he would be suited to the Premier League. There's obviously the injuries, but I think the biggest thing is form hasn't quite, since he's had those two big injuries, hasn't really been as good or as explosive as he was before he had those injuries. And I think there have been signs, or you've seen occasions where he's threatened to hit those heights again, but it just hasn't really happened as of yet on a consistent basis. And that's the worry, I guess. You'd have to bank on the fact that we can get him back to those heights, but you have to be wary you're signing a player who is a bit off form, who needs maybe a confidence boost and needs maybe a bit of time.
Like, yeah, fine. His form hasn't been great this season, but there were signs last season, weren't there, that he was getting back to his best. Injuries didn't help. Scored the winner in the Conference League final for Roma and Jose Mourinho at the end of last season. So
it's signs. That's all I'm saying.
I would take the risk. Would you take the risk?
If it meant getting no one else, then yeah, I would. Yeah. I think quality wise, the upsides, it's for that kind of money, it's pretty much low risk, high reward. And if it doesn't work out, you could probably get like 10 million for him, probably for someone else down the line or whatever. But if the upside comes to the fore and he does show his quality, you could have a 70-80 million pound player right there.
Yeah, very true. But let's move on to the Daily Porro now. Romano says that Tottenham remain determined to sign Pedro Porro and new talks will take place this week. Sporting remain determined to receive 45 million euros release clause. But a publication called Dario AS are claiming that Manchester City are considering triggering back the buyback clause for Pedro Porro for £15 million. I mean, if they've got that clause for £15 million, I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't do that just to make a bit of money if they don't even use him.
Yeah, but I guess, look, Man City aren't a team that are desperate for money, and it's just a hassle, I guess. Look, I guess they could make a bit of money, but it's whether it's worth the time and the effort just to do it. I guess you'd have to have all the plans in place. You have to have a buyer in place straight away. And would they want to do it and then maybe sell him in the summer and him, don't know what he would be doing for 6 months. I guess he could get some game time for Man City, but maybe he could prove his worth. But I don't know. I feel like Man City, I don't know if it could be worth their time, but it's not something that's like, it's not like they're going to make maybe 20-30 billion out of it, which is decent. But Man City have a lot of money. It's not like they need the money. So it's whether it's worth their while doing it. But I guess it would make sense financially to do it. But
yeah,
Spurs,
when you've got to consider like financial fair play and all these kind of things.
Man City don't have to consider they just don't. They do what they want. Them and Chelsea considering financial fair play. They're doing what the hell they want. And no one gives a crap. Man City were found in breach of financial fair play, and they got that ban from the Champions League, and it got overturned. So I don't think if you're rich enough, then I don't think the FIFA care or UEFA care, whoever it is. But let's just hope Spurs can get this deal over the line because we're desperate for him. And the more I think about him, the more excited I get. But I honestly think we're waiting to get rid of a right wing back, and I think we're struggling at the moment. I think we could loan out Spence. I don't think that's an issue, but I think getting rid of Doherty or Emerson right now is seeming to be a difficult thing to do.
All right. Let's move on. Some more positive news this time on Harry Kane. David Ornstein of The Athletic says that Harry Kane is open to signing a new contract at Tottenham. No dialogue has been made since the summer of 2021, but talks are planned after the January window. If circumstances are right, Kane will now extend past the 2024 season. His priority is to succeed with Tottenham Hotspur. Ali Gold echoed those thoughts as well, and he said Harry Kane is open to signing the right deal if Tottenham open contract talks. He remains focused on helping Spurs to turn around their season and to succeed at the club. So very contrasting reports to what we heard a couple of days ago.
Not really, because a couple of days ago we heard he was open to a move, and now we're hearing he's open to a new contract. Both things can be true. I don't think they're conflicting at all, in my opinion. I think Kane's future is still very much up in the air, despite the fact he might be open to signing a new contract. But as the article says, conditions have to be right. And what are the conditions? I'm assuming we have a competitive team, but we have a team we have a ownership that's willing to go the extra mile and be ambitious. So we have a manager at the helm who wants to win big things, and for those are all very much up in the air at the moment. So if we're at the end of the season in a mess, is he going to want to sign? Is it, if we're mid-table out of all the cups, going nowhere, is he going to want to sign a contract? I still highly doubt it. But if we do get Champions League football, or we have won a trophy, and maybe either Conte commits or we have someone lined up who can convince Harry Kane to stay on, then I'm sure it does make sense for him to want to sign at Spurs and see out his legacy here, as opposed to going abroad anyway. I know Man United obviously makes sense right now, but they're going to have to spend a big outlay in the summer, or they're going to have to wait another year, and maybe who knows what position Spurs are going to be in. So I don't think any decisions are being made right now, in my opinion. I think it's going to be made near the end of the season, or definitely. He's going to wait to see what's happening in January, come the end of the window, to have a better idea of what's going on. So, I mean, it's positive that he's open to it and he's not shutting out. But look, we heard he wasn't going in on contract negotiations at the moment. That seems to be true because they're waiting till after January at least. So we'll see what happens. It's positive he's open to it and hasn't completely shut off the idea of staying at Tottenham for the long term. That's positive, but I still think it's up in the air.
The way I look at it is if you're going to open contract tours in, let's say, February or March, whatever it may be, if I was Harry Kane, I would just not sign on that deal. I don't understand what he gains and what he benefits from signing in a deal in February or March. And with everything so up in the air, I mean, he could sign, Conte could easily leave, Paratici could leave, and we might not get the signings that we want. I mean, all those things are very, very likely to happen. So if I was Harry Kane, I would not sign that contract until at the very earliest the summer.
You know what we need? Maybe this could be an out for us. We need an Mbappe-style deal. Get Kane on the board. Get him to decide the transfers. We need Kane to run down his contract with 6 months left. Take Levy for all he got, and then say, look, I want to sell on transfers. I want to sell on manager. I want to be on the board. Let's get Kane to take over Spurs. Do what Mbappe did. That's what I would do.
Kane to take over Levy.
Yeah, that's what I would do if I was Kane. I would do what Mbappe did. Run it as close as possible so the hierarchy is desperate as possible, and then just take him to the cleaners.
I would love to see that happen, to be fair. Let's talk about Pape Matar Sarr now. Matt Law says Espanyol do want Pape Matar Sarr on loan and have submitted an official offer, but Spurs do not want to let him leave, but talks are ongoing. I mean, why are talks ongoing if we don't want to let him leave?
Yeah, I mean, I guess in case something happens in January where we get someone in, but the fact that he's come in to the team and played quite well. Conte seems a fan of him, seems to be ahead of Basuma at the moment anyway. So I don't think it makes sense to let him leave. Although you could argue we still have, without him, 5 centre mids, or 4 centre mids, sorry. So I mean, we could afford to let him leave, but if he's playing well and maybe in Europe he could have some appearances or in cup games, and maybe in Premier League and especially if we have injuries. Conte seems to like him, and he seems to be a fan favourite right now. So there's no desperate need to let him go. I wouldn't want to see him.
I think Skip should get a loan before Sarr.
Yeah, I wouldn't want Sarr to stay though and then get no game time. That would be a bit frustrating.
Yeah, I'd like to see Skip maybe get a loan before Pape Matar Sarr, to be honest, with the way he's going at the moment. But it looks as though there has been an offer from Espanyol for Pape Matar Sarr. We'll have to see how it rumbles on, because Spurs do not want to let him go. Let's talk about the manager situation now, because there's been another name thrown into the hat of someone who could potentially replace Antonio Conte in the summer. And a Rome publication say that Tottenham are interested in the possibility of hiring Lazio boss Maurizio Sarri to replace Antonio Conte. So yet another Chelsea reject thrown into the ring.
I think they're just taking all the ex-Chelsea managers and making sure that they're all linked at some point. Yeah, it'll be Lampard after him. We'll get Ancelotti, Gus Hiddink. They're all going to be part of the Spurs previous managers list by the time that ENIC leave this club. But Sarri, I think he's all right. I mean, I actually think he did an underrated job at Chelsea. You know, I was there for one season, won Europa League and finished third. Was pretty decent. Now he did a decent job at pretty good job at Napoli before they're nearly winning the league, but ultimately falling short. I mean, his Lazio team is sixth in Serie A. They're doing okay, but I don't know. I mean, Lazio, it's not like they're overperforming. They're pretty much performing par. I don't see Sarri as being the option for me. I don't think he's a manager who can take us to the next level, in my opinion. I think he can maybe get us challenging for like fourth or fifth, like that kind of area, but I don't see him kicking this team on.
Yeah, and smoking's banned in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium anyway, so I prefer to look at other targets. Next up,
subs won't listen to him if he subs them off. They're just going to stay on.
Maurizio Pochettino up next. Marco Conterio is saying that Tottenham have started talks already with Maurizio Pochettino, and Paul O'Keefe says that there are some of the Tottenham hierarchy who do not want to go forward in hiring Maurizio Pochettino, but Daniel Levy is one of Poch's biggest supporters. Is he the one that you want in if Conte was to leave?
Yeah, I think he'd be high on my list. I don't know. It's difficult. I wanted him back at Tottenham ever since he left, but I'm not sure if these are the circumstances I wanted him back. I'd rather he had he's been to a few other clubs and won a few more things, then came back as like a proper winner. He's had one stint at PSG, hasn't really gone too great, although he did win the league, and now he's coming back, and now he could be coming back to Tottenham after that. I mean, I love Poch, and I think he's an extremely amazing manager. I just don't think the awkward thing is I don't know if Son and Kane are up to how he wants to play anymore. So I guess there would have to be an awkward thing going on there in the team. I think he needs young, vibrant players who are willing to press the opposition up high and be relentless. Like what you see Arsenal at the moment, just how relentless they are in their pressing, but they've got such a young front line, they can do it. Once those players hit, their late 20s and 30s, it's a different story. You've got to adjust the way you play. And maybe Pochettino can adjust it for them, but it's going to be very, very difficult. I would love Poch just because if he could come back and win something, that would be an incredible story. But I don't know. I just don't know if it's the right time.
I think probably out of the guys that are looking, that have been linked to us, Sarri, Tuchel, and Poch, I just think Poch is the most suited to this football club. I think he can get the most out of like the young players here. Look, I don't think anyone is going to do such an amazing job just because of how the hierarchy treats each manager, and each manager has got their hands cuffed behind their back. But I think Pochettino is the one that can probably get the most juice out of the players that we potentially do have, like Spence and Udogie at wing back, get in a new defender, get four at the back with Romero. I think that will be a nice back four. Bentancur and Sarr or Højbjerg in the middle of the park, and we need a few different new attackers if we are going to get Poch through the door. But I just got a feeling like Poch will more accept the situation at Spurs, and managers like Tuchel will ultimately be up in arms after like 6 months to a year, and it's all going to go to shit. So I think Poch can actually come back here and have a longer lease of life than probably anyone else.
Yeah, I hope so. But I also just got to get this feeling he would come back and it wouldn't be like it was when he first came. I don't know. I've got a horrible feeling about him coming back as much as I love him. And I would be super excited if he came.
You have a good feeling about anyone coming here, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, I guess that's also true. I read a stat just before I was on Twitter. I read a tweet. Apparently, of the 10 permanent managers that ENIC have hired, 9 of them have won trophies elsewhere apart from Spurs. Have gone on to win trophies, and only one of them obviously won a trophy at Tottenham. That was Juan de Ramos, who won trophies at Sevilla.
We all know the managers ain't been the problem. We all know that for a fact. But look, let's talk about the last thing, which is some pre-season news. David Ornstein says that Tottenham are considering signing up for a pre-season tournament in the USA, with Chelsea also likely to take part. Plans and timings for the tournament are still yet to be finalised. Fancy a summer trip to the USA?
Yeah, it'd be lovely to see the Spurs supporters club. Spurs are growing in the US. I know they're very heavily followed, so it would be nice to go out there for sure. We definitely may have to make it our wish to get there in the summer if that does happen. But have to wait and see. I don't know if what will be the case by then. Will we have a manager? Will we have our captain or our vice captain available? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Will we have a club by then?
Tottenham roulette. Just spin the wheel and see where we go. But look, I got the dog going crazy here, so I think that's all we have time for today. We'll see you all very soon. Me and Sim about to make our way to Craven Cottage. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you
Spurs.